enjoy more stories like this, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Also, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. The days were very short now, and Birgit Midjord dreaded the coming of darkness. Her mother scolded her for it. "Child, you are young and have no business worrying about the sun going down. When I was your age, I hardly thought about the length of a day or whether it was June or December." But Birgit, now 20, had been feeling for some time that the islands were like a cage around her, a cold, northerly cage that she had to escape one day soon. She owned an atlas, and it opened with barely a touch of the hand to the double page on which the Faroe Islands were depicted. The islands, her home since birth, were small, scattered, rocky, and cold. They were so far from any other place that the double page contained nothing else. She had to turn to the previous page to see Scotland, to run her finger along a line from Inverness to Nairn to Elgin and wonder about them, places with different people in different buildings and unknown excitements. Christmas of 1898 was coming, and that kept Birgit just cheerful enough. The fishing would stop for several days, and her father would be home for a good length of time, his feet up on a stool and his gravelly bass voice filling the house. Birgit's father ran a fleet that caught and sold cod, flounder, and ling abroad. He did well, and Birgit's mother was content with her lot, but Birgit knew that this was because Christina had known hardship, and her life was so much better than it had been. Birgit, on the other hand, wanted to travel. "I blame that atlas that Uncle Christian gave you," her mother would say. "He should have kept it. If you stopped dreaming, you'd be fine." Her parents had plans for her, she knew that. The choice of a husband from among the fishermen, a home, a clutch of children. The atlas had been given to her at Christmas years ago. Birgit had been 9 that year, and it had also been the first Christmas when she hadn't found the white almond in her risengrød. Every Christmas Eve on the islands, every family ate risengrød, which was a simple rice porridge, sweetening it with syrup or sugar. Her mother, and mothers in every household, hid a single almond in the serving bowl of risengrød. It was an almond carefully scalded of its skin to make it white. Whoever found the nut in their helping won a prize, which was always a marzipan pig. Birgit loved Christmas. It was always a happy time. Her strongest memory from her early years was the moment every Christmas Eve when she found the white almond and held it up. "Me!" she would cry, and her parents and aunts and uncles would express their astonishment. "Birgit again! She has the good luck now." She would receive her marzipan pig and keep it by her bed until it was almost too dusty to eat, and then she would eat it. On Christmas Eve, when she was 9, Uncle Edwin's little son found the almond. He was the first cousin to be born after Birgit and 7 years younger. After that, each of her cousins, all younger, mysteriously had become the winner of the marzipan pig, one after the other. One afternoon, 10 days before Christmas, Birgit came in from the hens to find a young man in the kitchen. He was fair-haired and slight, with a narrow mouth and sharp cheekbones. Her father was there too. "Ah, Birgit, I have no idea where your mother is, and our guest needs something warm to drink." "I can heat milk," she offered. "Thank you," the young man replied. "It's no trouble." Her father stood, leaning against the dresser opposite the table where the young man sat, talking about fish. Birgit learned that the man was over from Iceland, and he was arranging some kind of deal with her father. He seemed young for the job. Buyers were usually older men. As Birgit moved about, poking the stove and pouring the milk, she avoided going too near where he sat. It felt like touching him by mistake as she passed might cause some kind of shock. He looked at her only twice, once to take the milk, and then again when she left the room. Later, her mother said that Stefan's name was Stefan, and that her father was doubtful about him because of his youth, but that the fish supply deal was a good one. And then, 3 days later, a storm got up. It was unusual weather for the islands because the climate, to Birgit's increasing disgust, was predictably mild. This storm was dramatic and heavy and promised to last. "We'll see the seas churned up too much to go out fishing," Birgit's father declared. "Even when this wind finally drops, the sea will have its memory." Arnar Midjord liked poetic language, and Birgit was often embarrassed by him. Her mother said that Stefan would be staying with them until his boat could leave. There were only 2 inns in Torshavn in the harbor, and they were filling up as families came to town to visit relatives for Christmas. The inns could still squeeze in the Icelandic crew, but Stefan had to find an alternative accommodation. "We have the little room over the store," Christina suggested. If she noticed her only child's eyelids flutter, or the way Birgit suddenly could find nowhere to put her hands, she did not remark on it. Stefan was polite, shy, and eager to impress Mr. Mijord. He told them how sorry he was to impose, and that he hoped to leave soon and allow them a family Christmas. "There's no chance of that," Birgit's father replied. "And you're not imposing. This year there was just going to be the 3 of us. All the cousins will be elsewhere on the islands." Birgit could not calm down now that Stefan was staying in the house. She could not get him out of her mind when he was in the house, and she thought about him just as much when he was out of the house with her father. He wasn't even all that handsome. He had none of the bearded solidity that most girls of her age admired in a man. Her friends liked big men with the shoulders like the Klovniger cliffs. And he was an Icelander, so that was no good. Iceland was as close to the islands as anywhere, but it lay even further north than the Faroes, and its winter nights were even longer. If she was going to travel, Iceland was not at all where she wanted to go. Birgit dreamed of France and Ireland, and sometimes she even dared to imagine Africa or America. Stefan and Birgit found themselves together on December 23rd, when her parents went to the church to offer help with the Christmas worship. Birgit was picking through the rice, her mother having left an instruction to do so. Stefan came into the kitchen and asked if he could sit by the fire. "It's not so warm in the room I have," he explained. "I'll lay a fire in there," Birgit said, and she headed for the door. "No," he called after her. "It's a waste of fuel, since I can sit near the stove." Birgit went back to the counter and put her hands on either side of the bowl of rice, pressing inward. She loved him, she was sure of it now, and if she didn't keep her body under control, it might do anything. "Well, you can stay in here if you like," she said. He looked at the rice and said that the tradition of Christmas rice porridge is seen all over the place. "In Africa?" she asked, breathless. He laughed. "I doubt they make it in Africa. I don't know. I've never been." "Where have you been?" she asked, but he didn't answer the question. He seemed to be looking at her more than listening to her. "In Germany," he replied finally. "You do?" she stared. He hesitated. "I was at university there, in Leipzig." She badgered him with questions. Was it warm there? Did the sun shine? What did people wear? He gave her little bits of information. "And you speak the language," she added. I suppose you could say I have 2 first languages, Icelandic and German." Birgit spoke mostly Faroese, which was very similar to Icelandic. The Mijords had been using Faroese with Stefan, while he used Icelandic. All of them sprinkled in bits of Danish to be better understood. "But you live in Iceland," Birgit asked, "working for the fish people there as you do?" Suddenly, she knew what she wanted more than anything in the world, for Stefan to say he intended to settle somewhere quite different now that he had seen the world a little. "You know all about Germany," she added. "I've only seen it in my atlas." "Oh, I live there normally," he said. "I have family there, and of course I studied." Birgit began to think of Stefan as her Christmas angel. He had come with glad tidings of hope. She loved him, and he might, if she were very lucky, carry her away on his golden wings. He was not one of the local men who smelled faintly of fish even in church, and who talked only about fish. Stefan was from other places, and if she could marry him, then the world was their oyster. Birgit examined Leipzig in her atlas, measuring the distance from Torshavn using string and her old-school ruler, and found it to be more than 1,000 miles away. On the map, it was surrounded by other towns and cities, and it was wondrous to see. It was not usually Birgit's job to make the Christmas Risengrud, but Birgit begged her mother to allow her to do it this time. "But why?" Christina asked, looking closely at her child. "You have been odd this past week, Birgit." "Just let me make the porridge. One day I'll have to make it for a husband, after all. One day when I live 1,000 miles away," she thought, but did not say so. Her mother agreed. Birgit blanched and skinned the almond. All that she could think about as Christmas Eve approached was Stefan, and in her mind it became clear that if she lifted the perfect almond from her plate and won the pig, she would have the good luck that came with it. She painted mental pictures of ships to Germany and of German houses, a life of going from city to town and town to city with Stefan on her side. Birgit's hands shook as she served up the Risengrud, but she was sure that nobody was looking at her. Her father was pointing out to Stefan his ridiculous stuffed fish in a frame on the wall. Birgit walked around the table handing out the bowls, and then she sat down and forced herself to eat slowly. "My goodness," she said as she lifted her spoon with the nut in it, veiled with milk and perfectly shaped. "I got it this year." The marzipan pig was fetched, and Birgit placed it beside her plate. It seemed smaller than she remembered, and she was disappointed to find that she did not experience any sensation of the world shifting on its axis. But Birgit told herself she had done all she could. It was time to clear away the dishes and for her father to fetch his violin. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss an update.